welcome to the Drone Champions League. We're the World Championship for professional drone racing teams, and this is Split 1, the first of our 2 series for this year. We're into Race Day 7. Ahead of us, a fantastic best of 7 between 2 of our professional teams. 4 pilots on each. We'll start off with a 1v1, 2 races featuring 2v2s, then the big heat where everybody will fly. If a team hasn't won this 4-0, then we'll continue with another 2v2 and another 2v2 featuring different pairs of pilots, and then it might come down to a 1v1 to take it all. Last week we saw Quad Force 1 beat their nemesis XBlades Racing and close the gap to almost nothing between them. Below them, Cyclone Raiden, SDT and China Dragons all tied on 4 points. The best season SDT Perpetuumcoin has ever had. We're going to see them racing today against XBlades. For this matchup, XBlades have brought Star 23467, Yayu, Drobot Racer and Sully 1. Their opponents for SDT Perpetuumcoin. From their roster, they've picked Silvio, Sea Sky, their captain Danube, and Shrimpy Boy. We're going to be racing around the beautiful site of Lake Zurich in Switzerland, where we finished our real-life drone racing World Championship series at the end of 2018. Flying over the lake here with these 3 Torval gates, we're expecting tight corkscrews through there. Coming up, you go over, back through, and then a hard 180 out. 2 gates take you towards the land. We go up and down through these gates on the side of the buildings, around this cone, another angled gate to swing up through, and then count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 plus an 8th DCL arch. This is the famous Rapperswil Castle. We then head back down behind it, 3 Foxear tunnel gates, and swing back over the lake where we visited a few fish in 2018. We're not expecting that in our virtual season. XBlades versus SDT. Let's get into the racing. It starts with the 1v1. Yayu is going up against Silvio. Out of the blocks, it's XBlades with Yayu in light blue and SDT Perpetuumcoin. Silvio is flying for the Spanish drone team in green and is just nicely tucked in behind Yayu as they were weaving their way there through the corkscrew towards the land. Silvio, quarter of a second behind Yayu in this early stage of lap 1, and there are 4 laps being raced in total through the arch tunnel. Not a problem for Yayu. Silvio is attacking these corners. You see how close he was to the trees. What about the drop here? Let's see how he lines up. Very tight angle. Yayu must have flown about as well as Silvio did, as they're now on to lap number 2, and the gap hasn't really changed between them. Weaving through Asensio, here comes that corkscrew. Silvio dips just a little bit before it. 0.3 of a second, the gap now. So Yayu just trying to stretch away around this corner. Over the top for Silvio was very aggressive. Yayu still flying very well too. Now we'll come up to our tunnel along the main route here, where we had such a great crowd in 2018 watching our real-life racing. Then up and through the castle. 0.2 of a second. Silvio behind Yayu. He needs to make this drop tight again. He does, and into the Foxear tunnel, he's gained by 1/10 of a second. On to lap number 3. 1/10 of a second between the pair of them. And less now. Silvio is moving into the corkscrew. He could get right on the inside of Yayu and take this gap away. Yayu, in fact, has flown that fantastically well and is trying to leave Silvio behind. And Silvio, yes, over the water there. A little bit hesitant, lost a few 1/10 of a second, but still got time to catch it up as he aggressively comes into the tunnel. Again, sweeping through the trees, playing it as tight as he can, weaving now over the fantastic Rapperswil Castle with half a second between these 2 great pilots. Yayu flying very well here. We have seen him make some mistakes, though, so far this season in high-pressure situations. He needs to keep it together now because Silvio has halved the gap between them. Over the top, cutting back through. Silvio very aggressive on the exit of that. Yayu flying very cleanly up front. Up and down through those 2, around this one, to the tunnel now. Silvio comes in on an angle. Yayu's got it covered. 0.3 of a second between them. To the castle. Up and over the top. Silvio can see Yayu the entire race. He's been in his vision. Yayu, slips beautifully through there, and Silvio almost went out too low. Here's the run for the finish, and it's Yayu who takes the first point for XBlades. Congratulations, Yayu, and he will be so pleased with such a clean race. And Silvio gave him pressure the whole time. Yayu stays on for the first of the 2v2s. Drobot joins him against Danube and Sea Sky for SDT. And everyone's away, and Yayu is into the Asensio gate already. And headed towards the Torval corkscrew, and the rhythm has gone to pieces for him. He is 1.2 seconds behind everyone else. After that brilliant high-pressure win, the start of this could barely have gone worse. His teammate Drobot currently has the lead, but we're on board with Seasky for SDT, who is desperately trying to take it from him. 0.05 of a second between the two pilots. Now Seasky's in the front. On the drop down, it's not quite as good as Silvio's from the last race, which gave Drobot the chance to squeeze in front of him. But one pilot above the other, there's barely anything there. Starting lap number 2, we'll go back on board with Yayu to see how he lines up for the gate that caught him. Oh, he had to twitch for it again. Just ducked it a little bit to the left. His corkscrew is brilliantly tight, though. He's desperate to try and catch some quads. And ahead of him, Danube is now right next to him as Danube messed up that over and back out turn. So he's there for the taking by Yayu. But meanwhile, up front, Seasky is still trying to catch Drobot. The gap, 0.5 second between them, but they're only on lap number 2, not even halfway through this race yet. Seasky's coming much better there into the Foxeer tunnel. Caught Drobot by a 10th. Now going to do a lot more like that. They'll go back towards the land. And there's that Asensio gate. No problem for either of them. They're into the corkscrew. Behind them is Yayu, who's in third now and has hit the inside of the corkscrew again. He'd passed Danube, but I think that was because Danube had lost a lot of time. Now he is even further behind at the back. Seasky is trying to get away at the front. Here's his view. Drobot is absent from it now that he's in front of him by 0.7 of a second, but he might just catch a little glimpse of him as he weaves around the castle. Come back down to the land, and that's bumpy for Seasky, and that's Drobot passing him. So tight together as we go on to the 4th and final lap. Heading back towards the land, these two guys will swing through Asensio, and the corkscrew needs to be great from Seasky. It's quite wide. Remember how tight Yayu's was earlier on? That's the sort of flying which has let Drobot get fractionally away from him here. Seasky chasing Drobot, 0.25 of a second between the two of them. Yayu a few seconds behind. Danube is having an absolute shocker and is way, way behind everybody else in this race. Drobot's flight over the castle is nice and smooth. Not too aggressive, but that's gone wrong. And that's right at the end. Seasky's in front of him now with only a couple of turns to go. To the water and the finish gate, and SDT take it. Drobot and Seasky were switching the lead between them throughout that race. I think Drobot had it mostly, but right at the end, one turn and a mistake, and the point goes to SDT, and they tie up the series. This could be a really close battle. Let's bring in their teammates. Sally1 and Star23467 for XBlades. Shrimpy Boy and Silvio returns from the opening 1v1. A good clean start for everybody. No problem at the Asensio gate here. Sally just slightly ahead of Silvio. Star23467 very much in the mix as well. Shrimpy Boy just a little bit behind at the moment, and we've seen in some races that he has got left behind, so he needs to get into contention right now. Star23467 is doing a great approach towards the first of the tunnels. 0.5 second almost behind his teammate. Here's Shrimpy Boy, who is 0.5 second again behind third place. Ahead of him, the drop is good for both of the pilots, Silvio and Star. Yes, they're attacking the end of lap number 1. Salih here is attacking behind Shrimpy Boy. Silvio and Star side by side as they're going away the corkscrew on the second lap. Star just slightly behind Silvio round this turn. It's a very long one. It's hard to judge quite how tightly you can make that. Looking again here at Shrimpy Boy, who's having a similar battle with Salih1 as his teammate Silvio is having with Star23467 at the front. As they enter into the DCL Arch tunnels, the battle for the lead is going on over the castle rooftop. Star and Silvio, 0.02 of a second between them. Again, that drop out of the castle is great. Star tries to make an extra tight turn on the inside as they come through the trees and realises, nope, Silvio is still in front of him. Lap number 3, swinging towards the water. How are the corkscrews from these two great pilots? Silvio's is nice and tight, and he's still into the lead. He's going very high over the DCL turn back, and he made it all right. Star caught him a little bit there, though. The gap is almost nothing. 0.07 of a second into the tunnel. Lap number 3. Silvio with Star. Over the roofs. Turn it back. Is it going to be as tight? Star's going a little bit more angular here. A little bit more 90 degrees, 180 degrees. Not as smooth as Silvio, who's almost 0.5 second in front of him now. 4th lap. Silvio needs to hold this together. The Asensio gate's fine. His route onto the corkscrew is nice, and it's very tight going round it. And in fact, he's pulled another 10th away from Star, and his route on that gate where you turn back much better than it was on lap number 3. He's up and through the angled gates, and there's the 3rd one. Heading towards the tunnel now. Over 0.5 second between him and Star, who's trying to chase him. Salih is still in 3rd. Shrimpy Boy has dropped far behind and is out of contention. Silvio's route is good down towards the ground. 0.5 second in it, and surely the win. There it is for Silvio, and taking SDT to a 2-1 lead over Star. Salih is home, and Shrimpy Boy makes it now. Silvio lost the opening 1v1 against Yayu by only 0.2 of a second, but he's the outright winner here. Now the legendary DCL Big Heat. Everybody racing 1 point for the winner, and SDT with a 2-1 lead over XBlades. Everybody within 0.1 of a second by the time they made it back to the water. Star here's got his 2 teammates in front of him. Danoob's got 2 of his teammates in front of him and all of XBlades. He'll want to do his captain roll. Oh, but he's into the water. Never mind leading his teammates. He's at the back. The lead is all XBlades. 1, 2, 3, although Silvio's just taken 4th from Drobot. So there's a green drone in the mix. Star currently in 3rd. Salih and Yayu just in front of him. Star again. It's strange to see that his route through the drop after the castle isn't as good as it was in the earlier races of the day. With that, he's only just keeping ahead of Silvio, who's managed to get past Salih. And Star has caught the first and the second parts of the corkscrew and is just lost over Lake Zurich to make it out of the 3rd and is at the back. Silvio, who'd moved up into 3rd, has got 2nd now with Yayu just ahead of him. Looks like we're going to get a bit of a rematch of the first race of the day. Yayu up to the castle. Silvio just behind him. Salih half a second behind. Drobot in 4th. Here's Silvio doing what he can to try and catch Yayu, and he knows how good he is on this track. Yayu needs to find that clean race he had at the first of the day, and so he does go through the Asensio gate with no hiccups there. Danube, long way behind the action between his teammates, but getting caught on the middle of the corkscrew as well. As you can see, he was taking it very laterally, trying to go through it from left to right as fast as he could. But that sent him to the back now with 5.5 seconds of a deficit of the lead. Silvio has got Salih in battle for 2nd and 3rd, and Yayu is trying to get away from the pair of them. This is lap number 3. Silvio comes down through the trees. Slightly sort of blind run to the drop has worked out for him again. 1/10 of a second behind Silvio, and it's the final lap now. Up and back through Asensio. Silvio, the only green drone amongst a whole cloud of XBlades light blue ones. And the corkscrew is really good for him again. Up and over, slightly high for Silvio. That's let Yayu just get a fraction further ahead of him now. Salih is still 1/10 of a second behind him. You never give up in these races all the way to the finish. We're going to go into the tunnel now with Silvio trying to move up on Yayu, trying to get an extra point, put XBlades under a lot of pressure from SDT. He's going to make his drop now. Yayu is flying even better. Through the Foxeer tunnel, Silvio was swinging a little bit. He's caught him by a 10, but it's not enough. Yayu's got the win. What a day he's having, much like his season so far. Brilliant performances and then a few mistakes in some races. It's a point. It's XBlades. It's tied up the series. 2-2 will continue in the best of 7. Now we go into another one of the 2v2s. The pilot pairings have to be different than earlier. So Drobot will race with Salih. Silvio comes back again, and Danube is alongside him this time. Now, we've not seen the best of Danube so far. We are seeing wonderful flying by Silvio, though. And he's in a battle for the lead, this time with Salih, as opposed to the earlier races with Yayu. Salih was trying to hang on to Silvio in that last race. He's got Silvio just fractionally behind him in the early parts of lap number 1. Silvio seems to be loving this course. His route down is blind here, but then the Foxeer gates, yes, again, swinging a little bit around. It's almost like he's done the hard drop bit really well, but the straight line part after that, not quite so smooth. Here's Danube trying to get into this race. Here's his route through the corkscrew again. Oh, the 3rd one's got him this time. You see how he's flying at 90 degrees to the gates to try and get across them so quickly. Hasn't managed it here. He's almost 4 seconds behind his teammates, but his teammate Silvio is still in the lead. Salih can see him as he chases him through the tunnel and up to the castle. Bit higher there than he needed to be. That's tighter. Where's he going right now? That's a different route down to the drop. It sort of worked. It was nowhere near as aggressive as Silvio, and yet he's still in contention with 0.3 of a second between them. Now on to lap number 3. Salih into the corkscrew. 1 and 2. Bit low on that one. Bit too high on that one. Overcorrected, I think. That's lost the position to Drobot, his teammate. Silvio has almost a second of clear air between them now, out in front in the lead. Let's take a look from Drobot's view. Can he see Silvio at the other end of the tunnel? Just about, as he's gained a 10th on him. Slight bit of correction there, but he's still managing to gain time on Silvio all the way through. Not quite as aggressive as Silvio on the last part of that drop. Goes on to the final lap. 0.9 of a second between him and a point for XBlades. weaves his way through the corkscrew. It's nice from both of them. It's 0.8 of a second. Silvio ahead of Drobot. Now down to less than 0.7. Silvio hanging on to the lead. Drobot trying to get it from him, and he's one of the most experienced pilots in the DCL. Been with us for so many years, racing with XBlades, winning multiple world championships in the past with XBlades. Coming for you, Silvio. It's less than half a second. Not enough time, though, left in this race for him to get him. It's going to be another point for Silvio. Drobot slams it in behind him. Salih finishes now. Danube is 6 seconds behind all of those. His teammate Silvio is getting it done for SDT. The other 2v2, Star 23467 and Yayu against Sea Sky and Shrimpy Boy. SDT in the lead here, 3 points to 2. XBlades have to win this race. Then it'll go to a do-or-die final race, a 1v1 in this best of 7 to take the whole thing. Sea Sky at the back, Shrimpy Boy in third. We're on board with Star 23467. He's got his teammate Yayu 0.4 of a second in front of him at the moment. This is the view of Yayu in the lead, rolled very far over as he goes down the straight there. That's interesting. Over the roofs he flies. All nice and tidy at the moment, and not a problem for XBlades, it looks. SDT trying to get back into contention in this race, but it's looking pretty clean so far for XBlades. Maybe to get a 1-2. Here's Yayu as he's gone through Asensio. Comes to the corkscrew now. There's 1, 2, not the third yet. There it is, but oh, Yayu on the inside of it gets a bit of a bump. He's still with Star, so Star wasn't that fast out of it. Here's Shrimpy Boy. Oh, getting caught on the gate on the way up. He's down through the second one, and he's lost a lot of time in doing those. Sea Sky still in third. The battle for the win, it's between XBlades and XBlades. Star going for it against Yayu. Between those trees at such a high speed. All these pilots being so brave as they go on to start the next lap. Yayu swings across Star there. What about the route through the corkscrews? The second one was very different. That second gate was very different for each of the pilots. But it's still quicker than SDT all the way along at the moment. Yayu doesn't have Star in front of him at the moment into the tunnel. 1/4 of a second between the two of them. Could this turn into another one of those pressure situations for Yayu? There's no holding back from XBlades here. Star wants the lead, wants the point in the season, has got past Yayu. Yayu's in trouble. Sea Sky's got him as well. Star is out in the front. Sea Sky is in second. Yayu's had some scrappy flying around the end of the lap and is trying to get back ahead of Sea Sky, as we see now. Does the corkscrew like he's never had a problem with it in his life. That was amazing flying by Yayu. Now he heads to the climb, which caught Shrimpy Boy out. Oh, he's caught it as well. That's let Sea Sky through. Yayu's lost a lot of time. Sea Sky, though, between the XBlades pilots in the middle of a big gap, as Star has got Rapperswil to himself. Through the Foxear gates, the last turns now. As long as he doesn't hit one of these trees, he doesn't. He'll hit the finish gate. A big moment for Star there. He gets the win that XBlades absolutely needed. Big smile on his face. And some messy racing behind him. 3 all will go to the do-or-die 1v1. And guess what? It's Star again. He was picked for it. Danube is his opponent. This could be a little bit more one-sided than we've seen, but right now Danube is really close to Star. Great flying from him. Looked like Star was going to get caught out on the end of the corkscrew, but he hasn't been, and Danube is fractionally ahead of him. 1/100th of a second between the two pilots. Up and down, Danube getting caught out in between. Star goes into the lead, and there's 0.6 of a second, 0.7 of a second. And Danube really needs to shake off the problems he's had in the previous races and find the lines that have been eluding him as well, or Star is surely going to run off and take this series. Danube follows him onto the start of the lap number 2. 3/4 of a second between these two pilots. Danube's got to absolutely nail this while we're on board with him. It's not quite as lateral as it was before. Remember those 90-degree runs where he was flying so on edge around the corkscrew? He was a little bit more direct there, not quite so aggressive. It's worked. It's cut the gap. He's done the tricky pair of gates as well, and into the tunnel. No, he's hit the first arch. He'd done so many of the more tricky obstacles, but that route in, oh no, and now he's hit the castle. Oh, it's going from bad to worse for Danube. He's 2.5 seconds behind. Here's his view down the tunnel, and there is no sign of Star. Halfway through the race now, lap number 3, 2.2 seconds between them. He may well be able to see Star completing the corkscrew as Danube is making his approach towards it. It's worth pointing out that SDT Perpetuumcoin joined the DCL as a permanent team back in the year 2000, and they didn't beat any team at all for 2.5 years. The first team they ever beat was XBlades in an absolute shocker last season, but in the 11 times they've raced XBlades, they only beat them on that one occasion. So to be 3 points all with them now, and let's point out Danube is only 1 second behind as we go on to the final lap. This is an amazing performance from SDT Perpetuumcoin. They're in mid-table. They're in a real scrap with XBlades. Danube, though, on the corkscrew. No, just couldn't get through it. And now having problems. 1, 2. Oh, no, he's just put it into the side. That is over, you would think. 5 seconds behind. Surely Star 23467 will know from his teammates that he's got the race in the bag. He can just fly a lovely looping knot over Rapperswil and put a bow on it. He's going to bring it home. XBlades are going to win this series, but they lost 3 races against SDT in doing so. That is a big performance for SDT. The win, of course, though, it's XBlades, the brilliant team out of the UK, the former world champions. They win, but it wasn't easy. Great showing by SDT. Commiserations to them, but what an improvement. 2 wins for Yayu, Star picking up 2 for XBlades, including that all-important final one. Silvio got 2 and C-Sky the other point for SDT. Elsewhere on race day 7, we had a lot of 4-0 wins, but the big one is the last one on your screen there. Quad Force 1 getting a 4-0 over the wildcard team, because that means they didn't lose a race. XBlades just lost 3. That has tied XBlades and Quad Force 1 at the top of the leaderboard. Race day 8 will see us return to Reuter in Austria. XBlades will face Mach 1. SDT Perpetuumcoin, who gave them such a fight. That's who's racing Quad Force 1. I've been Matt Andrews. Thank you very much for watching the DCL. We'll see you in the skies.